بسم الله. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلوات الله وسلامه وبركاته عليه. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة يرحمك الله وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم، ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد، فإن خير الكلام كلام الله، وأحسن الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم، وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. As we continue in the chapter in regards to nikah, the affairs as regards are connected with marriage, we was explaining the Hadeeth of Khutbatul-Hajah, where the Prophet ﷺ had taught the Sahaba this prayer in which you just heard me say just a couple of moments ago, Khutbah Al-Hajah, which is the same khutbah that's recited and which was from the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ when he would marry some couples off. He would usually start with this type of dua, which is entitled Khutbatul-Hajah. And like we talked about before, it's not called Khutbah-Tahajjud or Khutbah-Tahajjah or Khutbah-Hajah. It's Khutbatul-Hajah. Khutbatul-Hajah. And the Prophet ﷺ had taught this to the companions, as it says in the narration, عَلَّمَنَا رَسُولُ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ التَّشَهُّدَ فِي الْحَاجَةِ. That the Prophet ﷺ had taught this at-tashahhud. And notice it was called at-tashahhud, meaning, it doesn't mean like a tashahhud in the salah, but it is a type of tashahhud because it is a type of testimony and declaration for one saying that none has the right to be worshipped except Allah, and that Muhammad ﷺ is his messenger. So, from an aspect, it is considered a type of declaration or a type of proclaiming, a tashahhud. Such as a person says in his tashahhud, At-tahiyyatu at-tayyibatu as-salawatu lillah, wassalamu ala nabi wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, wassalamu alayna ala ibadillahi as-salihin, ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. As one says in his tashahhud in his salah. So one testifying or proclaiming that testimony that none has the right to be worshipped except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is a type of tashahhud, just like this here in this hadith. It is also a type of tashahhud of one declaring and announcing and proclaiming that none has the right to be worshipped except Him subhanahu. Notice it says in the narration, if you look in your books, as we continue, we want to finish it, just reiterate a little bit of what we took so we can be on one page. As they say, حتى نكون على وتيرة واحدة. So we can be in one sequence and be on one page. Notice it says, the Prophet ﷺ, so if anyone wants to memorize Khutbatul-Hajah, it's right here. Because a lot of people don't know where to find it, it's right here, in Buloogh al-Maraam. The Prophet ﷺ said, إِنَّ الْحَمْدَ لِلَّهِ إِنَّ الْحَمْدَ لِلَّهِ نَحْمَدُهُ وَنَسْتَعِينُهُ وَنَسْتَغْفِرُهُ. Notice the hadith starts off by saying, إِنَّ الْحَمْدَ لِلَّهِ. The Prophet ﷺ, as our Shaykh, al-Imam Salih Fawzan ibn Abdullah al-Fawzan, Hafidhallah wa ra'ahu, wa talallahu fi umrihi bil a'mal al-salihah, as he says, in regards to the tashahhud, in the inauguration or in his explanation, he says, يعني في افتتاح كل أمر من الأمور ومنها عقد الزواج. فهذه الخطبة وهذه الخطبة عفوا يفتتح بها عقد النكاح أو عقد النكاح، وتفتتح بها المحاضرة والدرس وخطبة الجمعة أحيانا، لكن لا يداوم عليها في خطب الجمع، لكن لأن الأغلب أنه صلى الله عليه وسلم كان يفتتح الخطب بقوله الحمد لله, to the end of it. As the Shaykh, he says about at-tashahhud, if you look in your first part of the hadith, it says at-tashahhud. He explains this wording where he says يعني في افتتاح كل أمر من الأمور المهمة, that a person says Khutbatul-Hajah, he says as its use was inaugurated in every affair that is important. So it's just not specifically for what? For marriage. For rather he said كل أمر من الأمور المهمة, that every affair from those important matters there are, then one inaugurates that by what? Khutbatul-Hajah. He inaugurates it by Khutbatul-Hajah. He says likewise from it is uqad al-zawaj. Likewise from it is those marriage contracts. He says this khutbah, meaning Khutbatul-Hajah, one inaugurates uqad al-nikah, marriage contracts. Likewise, he inaugurates it by lectures and lessons. And also, he says Khutbatul-Jumu'ah, and sometimes Khutbatul-Jumu'ah. He said that the Prophet ﷺ would not continuously do it in Jumu'ah, but he would do it sometimes. Because he says, in most cases, the Prophet ﷺ would inaugurate his khutab by Alhamdulillah to the end of what he used to mention, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. But if one does it in sometimes, he said, then there's no problem with that. So, you notice that the Shaykh, he mentions, it says that it's considered a type of what? A tashahhud. It is considered a type of tashahhud, one declaring and also showing and manifesting his tashahhud or shahada, his testimony, that none has the right to be worshipped except Allah, to the end of it. If you look to the next part of the hadith, it says, Inna alhamdulillah. Inna. So it starts off by saying verily. As we know, inna is a harf al-tawkid. It's a letter of emphasis, to put emphasis on something. Inna alhamda. So when one says inna, then it necessitates tawkid or ta'kid, as they say, emphasis. If you want to put emphasis on a wording, you would say inna. What follows after that is alhamd. Alhamd. As we know, alhamd, ya ma'ash al-ikhwa, alhamd, praiseworthy, or that praise, is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a manner which is called hamd mutlaq kamil. Hamd mutlaq kamil, that was absolute, perfect praise, is only for Him, sincerely alone. Meaning that absolute perfect praise. But from the creation where some can be praised, however, that's what they call hamd as a fara'. It's a type of branch where a person is praised for something specifically. But it's not absolute perfect praise in every aspect. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is praised in every aspect. Whether it be in at times of ease or in times of hardships. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is praised in every circumstance. That's why people say on their tongues, Alhamdulillah ala kulli hal. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be praised in all circumstances, in all situations. A person praises Allah, whether it be in a time of ease, or a time of adversity, or a time of what? Or a time of adversity, or time of ease, as I said. You understand, everyone? So alhamd mutlaq, or alhamd al-mutlaq al-kamil, it says only for Allah alone. Alhamd is mentioned في مقابل النعمة وفي غير مقابل النعمة. As the ulama mentioned in regards to alhamd, the alhamd is mentioned في مقابل النعمة في غير مقابل النعمة. The hamd is mentioned in which in regards to a favor or blessing that Allah bestows upon His slave, meaning what I just mentioned a couple seconds ago. Meaning Allah blesses you in some type of if Allah blesses one in a certain matter, then Allah Ta'ala is praised for it, for that ni'mah, that blessing, or that bounty that He's bestowed. In that situation, He's praised for it, subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's given hamd. And also likewise, hamd is also made fi ghayri muqabil ni'mah. In a circumstance where it's not a blessing, rather it's a time of adversity, in times of stress, in the times of hardships, or a type of test that Allah may bestow or may afflict the slave. A person still in that circumstance still praises Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because we know that it's due to a reason or out of some wisdom that Allah knows and we don't know. So you'll find that the ulama say that alhamd is in a time of a ni'mah and in a time then other than a ni'mah. In a time of a blessing and in a time and other than a blessing. So an instance of alhamd, take in consideration. In regards to alhamd, for what is connected to, then what it's connected to, meaning either a blessing or what, everyone? Other than a blessing, which is time of adversity. It is very general. It's general. In regards to what happens and takes place in a person's life, it is in all circumstances. So hamd is what, everyone? General. In contrast to a shukr, which is being thankful. Being thankful is only exclusively for a ni'mah. A shukr, being thankful. في مقابل النعمة فقط, is only in regards to a blessing that Allah has bestowed upon you. Then one has shukr. You understand, everyone? I'll say it again. So alhamd in this instance is more general than shukr. Shukr is more exclusively only for one situation or one circumstance, which is what, everyone? In the times of blessing and ease. If a person doesn't, for example, thank Allah he's being tested for drinking khamr or committing fornication, or he's doing something that is evil and he thanks Allah for it. La. Allah has given me money even though I am fornicating. Or Allah has blessed me in my musical business. Or He's blessed me in the crack business. La. So you thank Allah, thank you for these provisions you've given me. La. You understand? Rather, alhamd is in a time of a ni'mah, and it's a time other than a ni'mah, but in contrast to shukr, being thankful, that is only specifically for a ni'mah. It's only specifically for what, everyone? A blessing that Allah has given you. Everyone understand? Is with me so far? طيب. Notice it says, I don't want to go too deep into this. I want to keep a light explanation. نستعينه. So we praise Allah and alhamdulillah. It seems all praises, that absolute complete praise is sincerely for Allah. As we know, lam huna, or lam here, is a lam al-istihqaq, or the lam of ownership, or what they call the lam here, lillah, meaning for Allah, is what they call the lam al-istihqaq, the lam of ownership, or the one who deserves that absolute praise is sincerely for him. If you notice in the lafz al-jalala, it says lillah, li. The word li is the lam I'm speaking about. Lillah, the lamb. That lamb, as we know, is called lam al-istihqaq, or the lamb of showing that one deserves something. And that he's the one that deserves it, and he's the one that owns all absolute praises. Tabaraka wa ta'ala. In this dunya and in the hereafter. And after everyone enters paradise and hell, and the affair is over, and this dunya is done, the last thing that will be said, وَقُضِيَ الْأَمْرِ وَقِيلَ الْحَمْدُ لِلَّهِ رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. As it says in the last ayah, Surah Zumar, where Allah Ta'ala talks about how when everyone has entered their final abode, and they've inhabited what Allah has preordained for them in the hereafter, of either be in paradise or hell, the last thing will be said, it will be said, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. All praises for the one who's the Lord of everything He's created, Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. So we say Alhamd, Al-Kamil is sincerely for Him, Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, alone. Alone. If you notice in the Hadeeth, it says Nasta'inuhu. we seek his help. For verily seeking his help, as we know, ya ma'ashal ikhwa, it is a type of what? It is a type of ibadah. Al-isti'ana. When I say isti'ana, yarhamakallah. And when I say al-isti'ana, what I mean by that is the isti'ana, meaning seeking help of worship. Seeking help of worship. For verily, that's seeking help in regards to one's heart, what they call al-isti'ana fi sir. For that sir, ya ma'ashal ikhwa, when a person is seeking help in regards to what's connected with worship, it's only sincerely for him alone, subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it's not permissible to give that type of right to other than him. For verily, if one was to raise his hands and say, "Oh Jesus, help me out of this endeavor that I'm facing in my life right now. Aid me, help me." And if you say Wali Fulan, if you say so-and-so Abdul Qadir Jilani, or if you say Jesus the son of Mary, or if you say Uzair, or if you say this tree, or if you say this sun, you raise your hands and your heart is tied and connected with that thing that Allah's created, and you say, "Aid me, help me, take me out of this adversity that I'm in," you have nullified your Islam. Islam is nullified. Islam is nullified. It's major polytheism. It's major polytheism. If Islam is nullified, if you die in that state, you'll be in the hell forever. If you die in that state without making tawbah to Allah, and if you die in that state, in a way you have now given a right that is only specifically for Allah to other than Him, which is an aspect of isti'ana of worship, you nullified your Islam. You understand, everyone? That type of isti'ana, the type of isti'ana of worship is only for Him alone. In regards to al-isti'ana, which is in regards to seeking help from the creation, then we know that type of isti'ana is different with the condition that the person has those three prerequisites. Number one, which is he's alive and he's able and he's present. He's alive, he's able, and he's present. Because that's the meaning of the hadith of the Prophet said, authentic narration. He says, "Man talaba minkum al-isti'ana fa'a'inu." Whoever asks you for help, then help him. If your brother asks you for help, then help him. Also, likewise, the Prophet ﷺ said, "Allahu wallahu fi auni al-'abd ma kana al-'abdu fi auni akhi." And also the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ where he said that Allah is in the help of his slaves as long as the slave is in the help of his brother. So that type of help is only for what? If the person is alive and he's able and he's present. If he's alive and he's able and he's present. Meaning, what is the mafhum al-mukhalafa or the mukhalafat al-mafhum, what goes against that understanding, is that if you seek help with the dead, it is impermissible. It is not permissible to seek help with the dead, no matter what it is or who claims that it aided him. It is not permissible to seek help with the dead. You understand, everyone? Nor is it impermissible to seek help with the one who does not have the ability to do that particular thing. Rather, Allah is the only one that can conduct in it. For example, "Oh, so-and-so, make the rain come down." He's not able. It's not his ability. It's not from the conduct or the salahiyat or the power of the human being to conduct in those matters. Right, everyone? Does everyone understand? So if a person was to raise or go to an individual and say, "So-and-so, can you remove or can you make the sun come close to the earth?" Or for example, "Can you allow it to make it rain today?" Or "Can you remove the hurricane?" Or for example, "Can you remove the type of stress out of the heart of so-and-so, sister or brother I know?" All those things are from the affairs and the rights of who? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. He doesn't have the ability. But as far as lifting or raising and lifting something, then those are in the ability of the creation. So that's the meaning of the hadith. Also likewise, he has to be present. Meaning, that's a refutation against the people of polytheism, such as with the mashayikh al-turuq who do what their murid. For example, as they so-called proclaims, so-called scholars in Pakistan and India, what they do to their followers, one of their followers, they'll send them on Hajj. And while they're on Arafah, they'll call out to their Mashayikh al-Turuq of Sufiya, of mysticism. And he's not present. He's in another land. He's not there. And you'll call him out, oh, so-and-so, we have arrived by your barakah. We have arrived by your blessing. Aid us. Help us. If a person does that, he has nullified his Islam. Nullified it. You understand? Where his heart is connected with the aspect of that particular human being, and he's in another land. He's not present. You understand, everyone? Because now you gave it a right, which is from the huquq of Rububiyyah, where Allah Ta'ala is only able to hear and all see, and answer the invocation and the supplication of the one who calls on him. That's only for him sincerely. If you call out and do that type of action, and if you say Jesus the son of Mary, here, I'm here, aid me, do you hear me? Shirk is polytheism. You understand, everyone? So that type of isti'ana, or that type of aid and help, like we said, is permissible to seek help with the creation, with the condition that he's Hadir, Qadir, Hayy. That he's able, he's present, he's alive. You understand, everyone? Understood? Then it says, وَنَعُوذُ بِاللَّهِ, if you look in your books, وَنَسْتَغْفِرُهُ. If you look in your books, it says, we seek his forgiveness. We seek Allah's forgiveness. As we know, it's likewise, seeking the forgiveness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has numerous benefits. From those benefits is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make from every hardship a way out of it. And he will also make, if one, من لزم الاستغفار جعل الله له ومن ضيقه مخرجا ومن كل ضيق فرحا ومن كل حرج مخرجا. As it comes in the hadith which is the Sunnah Abi Dawood. And the meaning of the hadith more or less is, whoever stick and clings to constantly making or seeking the forgiveness of Allah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make for every type of deeq, that type of tightness or type of tight situation or endeavor that he's in, he'll make a way out for him. In any type of adversity, he will make an exit or way out for him. So al-istighfar, ya ma'ashal ikhwa, is important. If one wants to remove or change the situation in his life, it is binding upon him to constantly renew his tawbah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and constantly seek his forgiveness. Because sins makes any type of affair that you want, makes it difficult. As sins in doing evil, it makes all the affairs difficult, or something that you want to be facilitated for you, it makes it difficult. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will hold back that good or that khair that he wants for you due to some type of evil or sins that is being committed. For that reason, you'll find that Allah ta'ala says in his book in regards to the hakim, if one wants to judge in a matter, and even likewise, as I talked about maybe a couple of weeks ago, the Shaykh al-Islam Taymiyyah rahimahullah, that he said that I used to find in certain matters or masail difficulty in understanding it in the beginning. He says, then I would seek Allah's forgiveness. I would seek Allah's forgiveness, and I would seek Allah's forgiveness. He says, until Allah ta'ala unlocked for my mind to understand certain matters. Until Allah ta'ala will open up and give me tawfiq to understand the matter. I will seek Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's forgiveness. And likewise, judging, you will find that it's encouraged for the hakim, or the one who judges in a matter, that it's binding upon him before he actually judges in that type of religious matter between two people who are arguing or bickering amongst themselves, and he tries to intercede between the two to give the right decision, in which is pleasing Allah, that they say it is encouraged upon him to put forth al-istighfar before he actually judges in the affair, so it can wipe away the effect of sin. so he can make the correct decision. Due to the ayah, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in his book, إِنَّا أَنزَلْنَا إِلَيْكَ الْكِتَابَ بِالْحَقِّ لِتَحْكُمَ بَيْنَ النَّاسِ بِمَا أَرَادَ اللَّهُ وَلَا تَكُونَ لِلْخَائِنِينَ خَصِيمًا وَاسْتَغْفِرِ اللَّهَ إِنَّ اللَّهَ كَانَ تَوَّابًا رَحِيمًا. Allah wa ta'ala says in his book, he said, verily we have sent down to you the kitab with haqq, in order for you to judge what Allah wants. In order for you to judge between the people what Allah wants. Do not be al-kha'inina khasima. Don't be for those who are treacherous, a way for them to use you as a way to argue. Then Allah Ta'ala says in his book, وَاسْتَغْفِرِ seek Allah's forgiveness. Verily Allah is Tawwab ar-Rahim. If you look from the ulama tafasir, they say in regards to this ayah, they say that the meaning of the ayah is that the person, when he judges between the matter, that he should put forth istighfar before he judges between the matter to wipe away the effect of sins. So he can arrive and he can take the correct decision in that matter. Because like we said, sins can mess up a person's intellect. And it can mess up his clear way of thinking. And it can mess up how he thinks. So it says, if you look in the Hadeeth, وَنَسْتَغْفِرُهُ seek Allah's forgiveness. As we know, istighfar, it contains, or al-ghufran, or al-maghfirah, it contains two meanings. Number one is that al-ghafar, or the asl, ghafara means satara, means to hide or conceal. Means to hide and conceal. So that's number one. When you seek istighfar from Allah, you're asking Allah to conceal your faults. To conceal it. Conceal your faults and to also overlook it, both. To conceal it, hide it, and also overlook it. For verily, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hides the faults and the shortcomings of the individual in this dunya, then he is more deserving, then more than likely, inshallah, bi'idhnillah, Allah is going to likewise hide and conceal his faults on the day of resurrection. As we know about that kanaf that takes place, where Allah Ta'ala will bring the slave close, and it will be a secret type of what? Seclusion, or a secret type of addressment, A secret type of addressment between the slave and Rabbul Alameen on the day of resurrection. Everyone. This will happen to him. And Allah Ta'ala will bring forth everything that you did in this dunya, everything. And He'll say about this sin, this evil you did here, until the slave will think that he's what? He's destroyed. And then Allah Ta'ala will say, and this is the point of why I'm saying this, verily I have concealed it for you in the dunya, and I have concealed it for you today. You understand, everyone? Until he will be what? Enter into paradise. Which is an encouragement for one, and this is an encouragement, that a person should stay away from evil acts in secret and open. But if you fall short, do not do open your sins, and don't reveal it to people, and don't do it out in the open. Because if Allah has what? Concealed it for you, you tear off the what? The seal off yourself by doing it in front of the people. And that's the dangers of Facebook. These days at times, everybody these days brags about their sins. Everyone. Everybody's on Facebook. Me and my boyfriend, me and me smoked today. Allah has kept your sins sealed. You now have tore off the cover for yourself and you start bragging about it, your sins on Facebook. Sisters with weaves in their hair. Sisters with makeup in their hair. Sisters with their eyes plucked. Openly sinning. Brothers too. Likewise. Brothers want to brag about their muscles. They want to do this and put their shirts off. And if Allah has kept your sin sealed. Oh, we went to the bar last night. Me and my man, we was chilling with the girls. If you do sin, you got weak. Just keep it to yourself. Now you want to brag about it? You want to brag about your evil now? Seriously? You understand, everyone? So like we said in the hadith, the Prophet ﷺ had mentioned about al-Ghufran or al-Ghafar, that we ask Allah ta'ala, if you look in Khutbatul-Hajah, seeking the forgiveness, meaning that you're asking Allah ta'ala to keep your sins concealed and your faults and your shortcomings concealed. So likewise, inshallah, in the hereafter, and also likewise, not only keep it concealed and hidden, but also likewise, what everyone? Allah overlooking it. So Ghufran necessitates two matters. Number one is a sitr, الثانيا التجاوز عن السيئات والذنوب والخطايا. So notice in the hadith it says, Na'udhu billah. If you notice in the hadith, you look in your books, it says, we seek refuge in Allah. We seek refuge in Allah from the evil of ourselves. Seeking refuge in Allah, as we know, al-isti'adha, is also from the type of worship that's only for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. To seek that refuge, which is another naw' min anwa' al-ibadah, which is another type of the types of worship, which is exclusively and sincerely for Allah alone. And it's not permissible to give that right to other than Him. إنه كان رجال من الإنس يعوذون برجال من الجن فزادوهم رهقا. As Allah Ta'ala talks about in His book, He said that the people from the men of the valley, they used to seek refuge in the jinn. He said it increased them in more what? Fear and horror and fright. And it increased them in going further away from Allah. So those ayats in regards in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us and commands us to seek refuge in Him alone. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in those ayats that you guys and all of us all recite, قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ النَّاسِ مَلِكِ النَّاسِ إِلَهِ النَّاسِ إِلَى آخِرِ الْآيَاتِ. Say, seek refuge in the Lord of what? The Lord of all mankind. Which is a refutation against Hamzah Yusuf. Which is a refutation against Hamzah Yusuf, who brags about the Burda. As he recites that poetry, in which you'll find in that poetry, it is seeking refuge with the Prophet ﷺ. That Burda, which is by al-Busayri, which is filled with shirk and polytheism and kufr. And not only is it shirk and uluhiyyah, shirk and rububiyyah, which is something that is even more disgusting and worse. Because not even a polytheist during the time of the Prophet ﷺ fell in the shirk and rububiyyah. Rather, they fell in the shirk and uluhiyyah, and that was it. But now you'll find that there's people that's actually falling into shirk in the aspect of rububiyyah, which is something which is unprecedented. Sufis, from them Hamzah Yusuf, where it says in that poetry by al-Busayri, Ya akram al-khalqi mali man aludhu bih. سواك عند حلول الحادث العممي إن لم تكن آخذا يوم معاد يدي وإلا فقل يا زلة القدم فإن من جودك الدنيا وضرتها وإن من جودك أو من علومك علم اللوح والقلم, as it says in the poetry. من علومك علم اللوح والقلم. It says in the poetry, if you notice, it says, يا أكرم الخلق ما لي من ألوذ به سواك عند حلول الحادث العممي إن لم تكن آخذا يوما معاد يدي وإلا فقل يا زلة القدم فإن من جودك الدنيا وضرتها وإن من علومك علم اللوح والقلم. That's what he said in the poetry. That's it. Alhamdulillah, I remembered it. Where it says, in one part, he says, يا أكرم الخلق, oh the most generous, or the most honorable of creation. Who do I not seek refuge or give refuge or seek refuge than other than you? Mali man la aludhu bih. That's the poetry of Busayri called al-Burda, which Hamzah Yusuf encourages the people to read, which shows his deep depth ignorance in the fundamentals of the religion, to show how evil that individual is and how ignorant he is. And also his puppets that he also mimics, the puppets that he has on his hand. one day he was, now the puppet is gone. You didn't hear about that? Hamzah Yusuf and his puppet that he plays with? His puppet. Yeah, he has a puppet there on his hand. The puppet that he, never mind, I could go with that later. But at any rate, but that's what the people love to take it from. Millions of people, a puppeteer who brag. Any rate, like we said, ya ma'ash al-ikhwa, any rate. So that's what you see in regards to al-isti'adha, how it's not even permissible to seek refuge in the Prophet ﷺ. For a person only seeks refuge with Allah ta'ala, as far as in the aspect of worship. But if one wants to take shelter with the creation, then likewise those conditions come into play again, which is what? Alive, able, present. Alive, able, present. Back to Dutch. You understand, everyone? So be alive, present, able. طيب, as it goes on to say, we seek refuge in Allah from the evil of ourselves. We seek refuge in Allah from the evil of ourselves. وَنَعُوذُ بِاللَّهِ مِنْ شُرُورِ أَنفُسِنَا. We seek refuge in Allah from the evil of ourselves. For the evil of ourselves, ya ma'ash al-ikhwa, everyone has, as we know, the nafs of an individual breaks down to what? 3 types. Even though the ulama, you'll find a lot of them, majority of them say that it's of regards to the second, which is the amaratu bis-su' or nafs al-lawama. I'll talk about that. Let me break down the foundation first. Anyway, number 1, the nafs breaks down to 3. Number 1 is nafs, as we know, mutma'inna. Irji'i ila rabbiki radiyatan mardiyah. فَادْخُلِي فِي عِبَادِي وَادْخُلِي جَنَّتِي. This is not the Khutbah Al-Hajah. About the soul that is what? Mutma'inna, that is at ease. For that soul that is at ease, meaning at ease as far as the soul that it commands himself to do good, that is constantly inclined towards pleasing Allah. For if one needs to try to do acts of obedience and do righteousness, even if it's to smile at your brother's face, or just to shake his hand, or just to say a kind word to him. Just to say a kind word to him is all acts of righteousness. And it's not something that we should look down upon, as the Prophet said, وَلَا تَحْقِرُنَّ مَعْرُوفًا وَلَوْ أَن تَلْقَى أَخَاكَ بِوَجْهٍ طَلْقٍ, as he says in the Hadeeth, which is a Sahih Muslim. He says, do not look down upon any type of small action. Don't disregard it and think it's something minute. He said, even if you used to meet your brother with a smiling face. وَلَوْ أَن تَلْقَى أَخَاكَ بِوَجْهٍ طَلْقٍ. Even if you used to meet your brother with a smiling face. Don't think that's something that's going to be light, as it's something that can maybe be the thing that will what? Get you over that hump to aid you and to enter you into paradise. So the first type of soul is what? Nafs mutma'inna, as we know. Then the second type of soul is what they call nafs al-lawama, which is the soul that constantly blames himself, blameworthy, or find himself blameworthy for certain acts he committed. As that is also in another ayah, لا أقسم بيوم القيامة ولا أقسم بالنفس اللوامة. أيحسب الإنسان أن لن نجمع عظامه بل قادرين على أن نسوي بنانا. As Allah Ta'ala says in Surah Al-Qiyamah, where He says, I swear by the soul that blames itself. Allah Ta'ala swore by the soul that's lawama, the soul that's constantly blaming itself. Then you have the third category that we talked about before, which is the soul, which is ammaratun bis-su'. As Allah Ta'ala says in the ayah, which is in Surah Yusuf, He says, وَإِنَّ النَّفْسَ لَأَمَّارَةٌ بِالسُّوءِ. Verily the nafs, it can sometimes, or it commands one to do evil. That the nafs is ammaratun bis-su', that commands one to do evil. So that's the third type of nafs. In regards to the second category, which is lawama, as you'll find Ibn Uthaymeen and other than them, that he mentioned and said in regards, he gave a little fa'ida latifa. He mentioned and said, a light little benefit. He said, in regards to nafs al-lawama, he says, in regards to nafs al-lawama, it could be either of good or it could be of evil. You'll find in some instances, the nafs that is mutma'inna, that is of ease, that when a person does or misses an act of good, it will make him blameworthy in the good he missed out on. If he missed the act of doing an act of good. And he said, and you'll find in the opposite, even the nafs, ammaratun bisu, that evil soul, if he misses out on a type of evil, if he misses out on a type of evil, then the aspect of his soul that is evil will start to say and find him or make him blameworthy in the evil he missed out on. So it like sways. But if a person makes his soul acclimated towards good, then it will constantly find him blameworthy in what? In that which is of good. So he constantly should do an abundance of good actions to make his soul inclined and acclimated towards doing righteousness. Jayyid. Also likewise, notice it says from the shururi anfusina, from the evil of ourselves. As we know, all of us have the evils of ourselves, in which we constantly ask Allah to give us refuge and to be a mujahid, to fight his inclination of his evil, to override and overcome his evil. For verily the evil in oneself not only has he had that evil in himself, but he also has a qareen that he's also fighting with. The qareen in which everyone has a shaitan that he's tested with. As the Prophet ﷺ said in Sahih Muslim, he says, وَمَا مِنْكُمْ مِنْ أَحَدٍ إِلَّا وَلَهُ قَرِينٌ قَالَ حَتَّى أَنْتَ يَا رَسُولَ اللَّهِ قَالَ حَتَّى أَنَا إِلَّا أَعَانِيَ اللَّهِ عَلَيْهِ فَأَسْلَمْ فَلَا يَأْمُرُنِي إِلَّا بِخَيْرٍ. As it says in the Hadeeth, which is a Sahih Muslim, he says, there's none from amongst you except he has a qareen. He says, even you, Messenger of Allah, he says, even me. Except that Allah Ta'ala aided me upon him and he became Muslim. And he does not command me except to do just good. So a person has to seek refuge in the evil of himself and seek refuge in the shaitan and to seek refuge of the trials of this dunya. Because all of it is a trial and a test in which person every day is constantly in a struggle with. Whether it be in a state of ease or a state of what? Adversity. All of it is a test. Everyone thinks that it's just the hardships is a test. No. The times of ease is also a test. The times of ease is also likewise a test. Allah will give you ease to see if you're going to be thankful. Gives you that money, gives you something to see what you're going to do with it. To see, are you going to use it for disobedience, or are you going to use it in order for in a way of that which is halal or beneficial, or something that's going to benefit you in the hereafter. All of it is a test. Times of ease and times of adversity. Times of adversity is to show your sabr. Is to show your what? Patience. Times of ease is to show your shukr. Is to show your thankfulness. You understand, everyone? That's why we know which this world is called Dar al-Ibtila. It's called the place of trials and tribulations. That's why Adam was kicked out of Jannah. And notice it says in the narrations that he was kicked down to this earth called Dar al-Ibtila, the place of trials and tribulations. You understand, everyone? Jayyid. Notice it says in Khutbatul-Hajah, مَن يَهْدِهِ اللَّهُ فَلَا مُضِلَّ لَهُ. Whoever Allah wants to guide, then no one can misguide him. Whoever Allah misguides, then no one could guide him. After Allah, no one could guide him if Allah wants to misguide an individual. أتريدون أن تهدي من أضل الله. As Allah Ta'ala even said it to his own messenger. He said, do you want a God who Allah has misguided? Whoever Allah has misguided, you will never find anyone to aid him. In that statement, Ya Ma'ashal Ikhwa, about misguided, or Allah guiding who He wants to guide, and as a refutation against the Qadariyah. Any ayah that you come across as al-Imam al-Ajurri, Masjid al-Sharia, any ayah that you see in which Allah says He guides whom He wills, He misguides whom He wills, is a refutation against the Qadariyah. Refutation against those who what? Say that the abd, that he creates the actions of his own self, and he's the one that's in charge, or he dominates his own destiny. He's the one that's in charge, and he has the total control of his destiny, which is ghalat, that's wrong. Allah Ta'ala has His will over the creation, and likewise what? The creation has its will. But however, the will of the creation falls behind, as we know, the will of the Creator due to the ayah that Allah Ta'ala says in His book, وَمَا تَشَاءُونَ إِلَّا أَن يَشَاءَ اللَّهُ رَبُّ الْعَالَمِينَ. In another ayah it says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ كَانَ عَزِيزًا حَكِيمًا. As we know, Allah Ta'ala says in His book, He says, you do not will except what? Allah wills. So in these wordings here, Khutbatul-Hajah, in these wordings here is a refutation against the Qadariyah. Those who say any ayah that you see, or any nas or text from the Prophet ﷺ saying that Allah guides whom He wills, or Allah Ta'ala misguides whom He wills, all those are ayahs that are refutation against the people of the Qadr. The people of the Qadr meaning those who say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not have the ability to guide one who's misguided, nor does He have the ability to misguide the one who's guided. Rather, the slave is in total control, and he's in domination of his destiny. That's a refutation against that deviant sect. As we talked about before, this deviant sect, their ideologies still exist to this day. You'll find it dwelling within the non-Muslims. They say this in their statements. You have noticed that they say in their statements, you control your own destiny. This is ghalat, that's wrong. You have the choice, but at the end of the day, the final matter goes back to Allah. You could be a person getting straight A's, and you've been your last year of college, bang, got hit by a car, didn't see it coming. Done. Control his own destiny? As I've heard that happen to people before. Oh, he's going to be, we see good things happen, inshallah, coming up. He says the greatest, highest grades. And I've heard it also, mashallah, he's going to go far. And he became one of the most misguided people I've ever seen. And you see the opposite. You see a person low grades. He's going to be a failure. And Allah gives him tawfiq. You never know. You understand, everyone? You never know. I've seen the most smartest of people be misguided. Smartest people have information memorized, could quote this, and they became misguided in the end. I've seen it happen. Allah Ta'ala is in control of the people's hearts. That's the reason why we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to keep us firm after He has guided us, and constantly making that dua and that supplication. So all of those different types of scenarios and examples is a refutation against the Qadariyah. And we said that these ideologies still exist within the kuffar. You'll find them saying in their statements, like we talked about before, you control your own destiny. Your destiny has not been written out for you. Your destiny is not written out for you. Nothing has written your destiny in it. You control your own destiny. You control your life. Life is what you make it. All those statements go against the proper aqeedah, ya ma'ashar al-ikhwa. We say what Ahlul Sunnah say, what Allah says. Number one, You do not will unless Allah wills. We have our will, no doubt. We go out, we try to look for our jobs, we put forth utmost effort in trying to find a job and trying to do what the Prophet ﷺ commanded us to do. Where he says, "Ihris ala ma yanfa'uk wasta'in billah wa la ta'jaz." The Prophet ﷺ is commanding you to go out and do what was beneficial for yourself. Go out and seek talab al-ilm. Go out and seek your job. Go out and do that. Do that and do it to your best that you can do it. Your best of your ability. Go out and do it. Sacrifice and work hard and be diligent. Prophet ﷺ commanded that. So that we don't negate one aspect and say, no, I'll just put my trust in Allah. Khalas, I'm going to sit in my house all day. La, that's wrong. That also goes against what is called the hikmah of Allah, which is Him making the musabbabat laha asbab. Meaning that which comes as a result always has reasons of why it comes about. For example, that a person gets married in order to have children. A person can't just sit in his house and just say, what? I'm going to have children. He never gets married. For things which are musabbab, Allah Ta'ala has made for them asbab. For things that come into existence, certain matters, He has made for reasons for it. For you to get a job, you go out and apply for it. For you to go far and excel in your life, you work hard for it. For you to go out and get your food and your sustenance, you go out and get it. But at the end of the day, it's still coming upon you to still what? Have the belief that Allah is the one who wants it at the end. And if something happened in the middle while you was doing it, Allah preordained for that to happen to you for a reason. You understand, everyone? As Allah Ta'ala says in His book, مَا يَفْتَحِ اللَّهُ لِلنَّاسِ مِنْ رَحْمَةٍ فَلَا مُمْسِكَ لَهَا وَمَا يُمْسِكْ فَلَا مُرْسِلَ لَهُ مِنْ بَعْدِ وَهُوَ الْعَزِيزُ الْحَكِيمُ. As Allah Ta'ala says in His book, مَا يَفْتَحِ اللَّهُ لِلنَّاسِ مِنْ رَحْمَةٍ فَلَا مُمْسِكَ لَهَا. There's not a person who Allah has opened up the doors. If He wants some good for him, if Allah wants good for you and He wants to give it to you, nobody can stop it. Nobody can hold it back. And what Allah holds back from you, no one can give it to you if Allah wants to hold it back. And He's Azizun Hakim. He's almighty and He's all wise. Subhanahu. You understand, everyone? So if we, like we talked about before, Ya Ma'ashal Ikhwa, it's not the qadr. We talked about in regards to the qadr, the qadariyah, these lines refute those deviant sects and refute the ideologies of the kuffar these days, who say that your destiny is in your hands. You control your actions, you control your destiny. We say, nah, we have our control, we have our choice. As Allah Ta'ala has made for us. But finally, the ultimate decision goes back to Him subhanahu wa ta'ala, what He wants. Understand, everyone? Jayyid. وَاشْهَدُ أَن لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهُ وَاشْهَدُ أَنَّ مُحَمَّدًا عَبْدُهُ وَرَسُولُهُ. And I testify, if you look in your books, and I testify that none has the right to be worshipped except Allah, and I testify that Muhammad is His abduhu wa rasuluh. I openly testify none has the right to be worshipped except Allah, and I testify that Muhammad is His abduhu wa rasuluh. None has the right to be worshipped except Allah, as we know, is a refutation against who, everyone? You guys should already know this. La ilaha. La ilaha. None has the right to be worshipped. None has the right to be worshipped. Is a refutation against who? Ahsant. None has the right to be worshipped. Is a refutation against the mushrikeen, the polytheists. Except Allah. Is a refutation against who? The atheists. Jayyid. It's a refutation against the atheists. This is what you're saying when you come in the fold of Islam. You're saying that I disbelieve in total all the worshiping the sun, worshiping the moon, worshiping Buddha, worshiping Jesus, worshiping anything that's associated with Him, worshiping the Mashaykh al-Turk al-Sufiya, worshiping any individual, worshiping and going to also sorcerers and magicians and believing in zodiac signs and all that nonsense, and believing in bad luck and believing in bad omens. All that's part of when you say La ilaha. Understand? Jayyid. That's the meaning of La ilaha. You freeing yourself from all of that nonsense. Illallah. except Allah, which is a refutation against the Malahida, against the people of atheism, from whether they be from the people of communism or Marxism, and all of them who are included inside of that. So even you coming in the fold of Islam, which validates your Islam, is you uttering this, and when you utter this, this is what it necessitates. Also, you believing in democracy, and you believe in Islam, that also comes in play with La ilaha. You believing that democracy, democratia, all that nonsense, liberalism, all that, you free yourself, all of it from him. You free yourself from it all. It's done. You've thrown it in the garbage. Understand? Gee. So when we say illallah, it's a refutation against the atheists. When Allah, so what validates your Islam, what brings you in the fold of it, is what this necessitates. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, wa ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. All this now necessitates from you. It's binding upon you to free yourself from all these tawaghit. Understand? Because all these affairs are tawaghit, except those prophets in which Allah, in which they did not command the people to worship them. Except those prophets who they did not command, because they are not tawaghit. But other than them, from those from the sun and the moon and the stars and all of that, of those who think, and also from those polytheists and those statues who are not from the righteous, then they are tawaghit, which is binding upon us to disbelieve in democracy and liberalism and all that. All that is, and also likewise, of that which is a majaz, believe in metaphoric meanings, and all those other things are tawaghit. So we'll talk about it later, inshallah. But at any rate, he says, I testify that Muhammad is his abduhu wa rasuluh. I testify that Muhammad is his slave and his messenger. Also, likewise, we talked about Kitab al-Tawheed. This is a refutation when you say that Muhammad is the abduhu. It's a refutation against who, everyone? Muhammad is his slave. It's a refutation against those ahsant. It's a refutation against the Shia. It's a refutation also against those who deitize the Prophet ﷺ. So when you utter ashhadu anna Muhammad abduhu wa rasuluh, abduhu, you are saying he is only the slave, even though he's a prophet and a messenger, we love him and we have reverence with him. We do not raise him to the level of Allah. You understand, everyone? That's a refutation against those people of mysticism from the Mashaykh al-Turk al-Sufiya, who deitized the Prophet ﷺ, raising above his level that Allah did not give him, which is the level of uluhiyya, rububiyyah, wal asma wa sifat. That's only for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. So when you utter the shahada, so you can see how ignorant a lot of the Muslims are. They mere shahada, they don't understand it. And you see them deitizing the Prophet ﷺ, saying ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah, and he's going and he's saying the Prophet ﷺ, he can forgive people, he can overlook our sins. You don't realize you're saying abduhu wa rasuluh, abduhu, you understand what that means? Abduhu, his slave. Do you understand, everyone? Meaning that the Prophet ﷺ still has a description of the ubudiyyah, that he's just a worshipper. However, he's been preferred over the rest of the human beings of mankind, but just being a prophet and a messenger. And also likewise, Rasuluhu, will stop here. Rasuluhu is a refutation against who, everyone, as we know. It's a refutation against those who belied his risala from the Yahud and the Christians and the Mushrikeen, those who belied his risala of Nubuwah, of him, his messengership, and also likewise his prophethood. Those who belied that, this is a refutation against them. As he, alayhi salatu wasalam, was truly a prophet and a messenger. And if you look to all the descriptions of the Prophet ﷺ, they knew it was clear as the sun of the sky he was a prophet and a messenger. He came from the most honorable of lineages. There was Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala he made and set up everything so it could be clear as the sky he was a messenger. The Prophet ﷺ came from the best of lineages, because the Arab during then, was some of the things they used to take into consideration. He comes from a little lineage. Couldn't deny that. Allah set it up where he was from the best of lineages. Then they tried to say, oh, if he's a child of fornication, he was born out of marriage. Then they'll try to say, they tried to use anything they could use. Allah closed the door. Prophet ﷺ had also came, grew up amongst the people. Also, he was known to be the most what? Most trustworthy people amongst his people. The most truthful and veracious, alayhi salatu wasalam, was amongst his people. He was known for that even before the revelation started. They gave him that nickname amongst the community, the trustworthy one. The truthful one, the trustworthy one. That was his nickname before even he started. That was his nickname. The trustworthy one, the truthful one. Doesn't lie. Is there everyone? Clear as the sun in the sky. Anything they used, they couldn't use it. Prophet ﷺ looked like a prophet. He was manly like a prophet. Strong like a prophet. Looked handsome like a prophet. Everything, all the signs were there. It was clear as the sun in the sky. Prophet ﷺ wasn't too tall, he wasn't too short, he was in the middle. Looked like a prophet. Everything. All the signs was clear as the sun in the sky, as Allah says in his book. يَعْرِفُونَهُ كَمَا يَعْرِفُونَ أَبْنَاءَهُم وَالَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْكِتَابَ. What they say? What Allah taught about him? يَعْرِفُونَهُ كَمَا يَعْرِفُونَ أَبْنَاءَهُم. They know him just like they know their children. Alayhi salatu wassalam. You say it, everyone? Cold? Cold a little bit? Turn the heat on. طيب, stop here. هذا صلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه. استغفر me. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. Any questions? So that's the end. We explained Khutbatul-Hajah briefly. What was that? Oh. Khutbatul-Hajah, we explained it briefly. Inshallah, we'll talk about the next hadith after that, which is what is permissible to see. Oh boy. What is permissible to see when you marry a woman?